filling space, which doesn't help anybody.
That niche is so important. It's one of the things that we teach at London Real Academy. And niching down until it hurts, to be so
Yeah,
specific on the messaging that you're going to give a potential client or customer or audience is really, really crucial. hmm So
100%.
what so once we kind of know what we're going to do, how do we actually get that business out there? How do we find our voice and market it? Because I know that you do marketing advisory as well for organizations. So how do you help them start to spread the word? Because once you have the concept, you need people to know about it. So pitch is one way, but what else can we do to refine our voice?
Right. So that actually gets into a very hard stage for a lot of people. How to
Mm,
market yourself. Most people don't want to talk about themselves. Most people don't even know how to talk about themselves, let alone what it is they're going to do for people. And it's not simple. You pretty much want to start with a basic sentence. I do X for Y to give them Z. You know, I do marketing for startups to help them make more money. Something simple, something just the basics. From there, the sky is the limit. If you're wanting to do a job as a content writer, then you probably want to start writing content and getting it out there. You want to show people what you can do. If you're a graphic person or if you're a website designer, you should put out some demos or at least make one for your cat or whatever it is. Just so you have something to show people the stuff you've done or the stuff you could do. And then once you have a small portfolio of a couple of things to tinker with and play with, then you want to basically say, okay, now let's figure out where's my best effort? Is it Instagram? Is it TikTok? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Facebook? Is it something totally different? Do I want to go down the Reddit, rabbit hole? There's all kinds of places and things you can do. And everything works differently for everybody. In case in point, a lot of people think I do a lot of marketing and LinkedIn, and the last 4 projects I've got all came from Facebook. So it's kind of a funny thing because I don't advertise on Facebook. I interact with people on Facebook and help people, question people, ask things and support people. But the last 4 projects came from there. So if you had asked me, a few years ago, where did I get business from Facebook? The answer would have been no. But that's where I'm getting business from. So sometimes what you plan to do versus what actually happens also isn't exactly a science. Unfortunately, as we know, marketing is kind of 50% guesswork and 50% getting it right. And the trick is to figure out which one is which.
wow. I mean, it's a lot of work, but worth it if you really hone that craft, or you could get to the point where you outsource it as well to people who are
Right.
better at that field than you are so that you can focus on the things that you love doing and are good at. Would you
And
agree?
you'll get to that eventually once you have some cash flow, because most people don't have the money up front to do all that. Um, but there are things that you can do that are reasonably cheap, so to speak. You can use the AI stuff to give you content or write your headlines or do some of the basic stuff you want at graphic work. And it's free. You just need to spend a little time editing and cleaning it up. But it is there. And it will give you that feeling that you're doing something better than on your own. Like sometimes I'll write something and I'll be like, it's okay, but I'm not sure what I'm missing. I'll throw it into it just to see what it can spit back and give me as options. And that's always sometimes better because sometimes the options are what takes your head somewhere and says, "Oh, that's a cool idea. I didn't think about that. Let's go chase that and let's write that and let's push that out." And sometimes that actually works because it's something you hadn't thought of, but the spark of idea and genius just can come from anywhere.
That's true. So, what I know that once you have your business going and you might need to pitch for funding. And I know that's something really special that you do at B2B Whisper is you help startup companies find that money. So let's talk about, how do you find that money as a startup company?
All right. So without getting into all the financial details, there's a few ways to get money for your startup. Obviously, your immediate need is yourself, or your family, right? I'm going to do this and I need a little bit of money to get started, blah, blah, blah. Fine. You can usually get that. But then it becomes, now what, right? What else do I need? And you could go to a bank, but the bank is going to say, well, you don't have any business. You don't have anything to show for it. And the bank is happy to give you money these days. Of course, they'll give you $5,000, $10,000, whatever it is. But you still got to figure out how are you going to pay that back. So it's maybe in your interest, if you know the customer is coming and you know what you can do with that, you can do that route. If your business is already beyond that step and you're cash flow positive and you're trying to grow it, you want to go to either angel investors or VCs and look for bigger money, then you get into a whole other ballgame, because now you need to basically play their rodeo. You need to create your deck, and it has to be really good. You have to know how to talk. You have to know how to present. Everything you do is all about getting the money, right? And the biggest problem that startups have, that founders have, is they don't ask for enough money. It sounds crazy, but it's true, because what happens is they sit there and say, well, I did the math and I realized I need like $10,000. And I'm like, you don't need $10,000. And they said, why? And I said, because ideally you're trying to pay yourself something along the way. That 10,000 isn't going to last you more than 2 months, 3 months, maybe. And who wants to give you 10 grand when they're trying to figure out how are you going to make that money back, right? Because there is a value ratio that makes sense. So when I work for the startups who are cash flow positive and trying to grow to that next level, and they're also doing that because they'll say, oh, I need $1 million. I'm like, no, you need 5 to 10. And they said, why do I need 5 to 10? And I said, because as soon as you get that million, right, you're going to go out, you're going to hire developers or whatever it is. You're going to do this and this, and that money is going to be gone in 6 months. I said, and then you're going to have to get back on the road and start trying to find money again. And you don't want to do that. And your company doesn't need you to do that. So it's planning ahead and thinking about it. But if you're going to make a big ask of someone for 5 million, 10 million, or even if you're small enough and need $500,000, they want to know you know what you're doing. They want to see that you've got logic in your company, that your business model makes sense, that if they give you the money, what are you going to do with it? And it's not just, well, I'm going to hire this guy and this guy and this guy. It's, X amount goes to this, X amount goes to that. We're going to do this type of thing and that. And there has to be details, there has to be thought out, or no one wants to take you seriously. And that's a big part of it. And how you tell that story, how you make that story work for you is the biggest issue. Most people don't know how to tell a story, don't know where they're going, don't know how to get any point across. And they're just all over the place. It's like the only point of your story is to get money. Everything else is kind of secondary, right? It's like, here's what I do. Here's how other people do it. Here's why we think we can do it better. And here's what we need to do it. That's really what you want to get across. 1, 2, 3. Everything else should be like Q&A almost. Because no one cares about all the other stuff. Maybe you went here, maybe you did this. That's all nice and good, but that doesn't tell anybody what you're doing and why. And that's kind of what happens. But if you're a small business, it's the biggest thing for you to do is to get that first customer. Because once you have that first customer, you will get a second one. And once you have 2, you'll start having some more, and you'll be able to start rolling along a little better and get some idea how you can start hiring people, even if it's temporarily, or outsource them or whatever you want to do. And then it just kind of grows in its own way. And it may plateau too. A lot of times people get frustrated because they're like, well, I'm not making any more money. It's like, it's not about making more money every day. It's about growing your business in a way that makes sense for you and for your future. And if you grow too fast, you're not going to have the mechanisms in place to support that structure. Obviously, they don't want to grow too slow, but you reach a point where you're getting enough inbound revenue and everything kind of makes sense, and you're good, and you can actually now sit here and say, okay, now that we got this, what can we do to get bigger? How can we get bigger customers? Sometimes I help people just by changing the wording in their website or their social media. It makes a big difference when someone thinks you're one person or 3 people versus thinking, oh, maybe they're 10 to 20 people. And it makes a big difference in who those customers are, because they come to you and they want to be hand